Good day to you. My name is Maria Kądzielska and this is Poland Daily Culture. Poland Daily in the middle of war in Ukraine, which we are witnesses of, and it's hard to talk about anything else. That's why we will talk more about the cultural and social aspect of what's happening and how it influences also us. Many times in this show, we talked about the Holocaust and everything what happened during the World War II and the important message of the Jews which had for the humanity for this never to happen. But it is happening right now, and the civilians are dying, and the bombs are specially pointed to kill them and to kill the civilians, not the troops, not the soldiers. With me in the studio is Maria Kądzielska, a Polish philosopher. Thank you very much for coming.
Welcome. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Polish elites and the Polish debate, especially philosophical one, for many years talked about the importance of the message of which we had after the Holocaust, which showed the nature of human nature, which we expressed so many times it should never happen again. And also, I would say the Israel as a state had this more moral obligation, but also the privilege to lecture the rest of the world how we should behave or what we should do. And right now, even though such things are happening in Ukraine and there is war and people are dying, and we all watch it as if it was a movie, but it's not a movie, it's a reality. In this dark moment, Israel doesn't pass the test as a state, but also as the individuals, because being neutral is one thing, but out of most of the Western countries, Israel is the country who is very much pro-Russian. And the fact that they accepted 14 private jets of Russian oligarchs who are looking for shelter there in Israel, and they were accepted, and there is no protest even of a Israeli society against it, looks, I would say, it is hard to believe, but it's truth.
It is hard to believe. It seems as if Israeli nation has learned nothing from World War II. We have a right to expect more, and we have a right to expect the words of condemnation against Russia. This is the war in Europe that is happening right now, and we should see this in this way. And unfortunately, it seems that this is just the beginning of greater aggression. It's even outspoken loudly and openly from the part of Russia. Comments and interpretation, which are so weird, saying that this is just Putin who is responsible. It's not. It's great support from Russian elites and Russian society, and it should be confronted with outspoken opposition from other countries, and first of all from Israel. And as we see the political interest and economic interest prevail, even in this moment, over what is righteous, what is right, and this is absolutely frightening. This is horrifying. I don't believe this process may stop on its own. The longer we wait, the worse circumstances shall propel it. It's really a very dark hour.
And more civilians are attacked. Just last week, we witnessed the attack on hospitals and where women are giving birth. We've seen many pregnant women who are taken out of the hospitals, basically dying, and the Russians exactly know what they're doing, and they are doing it more to the familiar state of a very close nation to them, because after all, they themselves say how Ukrainians are part of Russia and how close they are, but still they are doing it on purpose, and especially to destroy this nation and to fear the civilians, and that's why to push the government for the surrender. And even when the government is fighting this way, and let's say Zelensky is the only leader who's fully who has a full Jewish origin, even though it's not that important, but Israel state and the Prime Minister of Israel goes to goes to Moscow, speaks to Putin, and later on goes and advises Zelensky for him to give up and to surrender. It seems like an outrage. It seems like he doesn't understand what's going on, or for his interest in the status quo is so important for him that he gives up what is righteous and what is good.
I think it should be very much highlighted that it's all underlined by lies and by lying. And this is something more deeper. This is something that Richard Pipes, who was the advisor to President Ronald Reagan in favor of Eastern Europe and Soviet Union, who is a Jewish historian employed by Harvard University, understood very well. In his memoirs, he underlines that Russians are always lying in their diplomacy, but also the lie, as Dostoevsky explained this in his books, is very deeply rooted, unfortunately, in Russian society and in Russian way of thinking. But in this case, this is absolutely unprecedented. Their claims that they feel surrendered by NATO states and that in result of this they are in some danger. So what should the countries like Switzerland say, which are totally surrendered by NATO states? Is Switzerland in grave danger because of being surrendered by NATO? It assumes bad will and aggressive directions from the part of NATO, which is not true.
We'll put a point here, but just to wrap up this episode, Russians are lying, and the Western world knows it, and Russians know that we know that they are lying, but they are still lying, and they are doing it to the end in almost every detail. So very important is not to push forward and not to give them a voice in this propaganda and in this war also of information, but to realize what is the reality and to talk about it firmly and openly. So thank you very much for watching Poland Daily Culture.